Welcome back to the channel today, Man of Secrets, Man of Honor. So, Man of Secrets, Man of Honor is another album from Over the Hills, from Forlorn Hope. And now, if you'd like to see the other one, I've got War in the Shadows and maybe some others. Man of Secrets, Man of Honor is about Calhoun Grant, which is you think that I'm going to call him Grant or Grant, because I would sometimes drag out the A because Grant. That's a very bogan Australian thing. So Colonel Grant was sorry, I've already got on a tangent. I apologise. Colonel Grant was Wellington's basically chief of intelligence in the peninsula, which, by the way, is why it's really weird when you watch Sharp and there's the major general on the intelligence staff. It's like, well, your boss would actually be a lieutenant colonel, so I'm not sure how. Anyway, that's why you shouldn't mess with books to movies too much. But anyway, that's completely off topic. So, what can I say about Grant? Well, we'll just wait and see what's covered in the song. Grant had a very interesting time in Paris, which we will get to. He's a very interesting man. His name is actually not said in the song. It's I think it's sort of like 7734. No, Inmate 4859 on Sabaton about Wilhelm Vicky, but they just never say his name in the song. So it's Calhoun Grant. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Some awful Scottish name. It's just, ugh. I'd actually look up the pronunciation. The songs have great lead-ins, they're awesome.
A young man from Scotland, a Highlander born,
Scottish.
destined for greatness and destined for war. At the edges of empire, a soldier became, learning his trade and the warrior's game.
Yeah, he joined the Guides, which was Wellington's code word for spies, but they rode full uniform behind enemy lines, and he always wore full uniform. 11th Regiment.
Chosen by Wellington with but one aim, to bring him a victory in Spain. Ride like the wind, he had enemy lines, head of intelligence, master of spies, man of secrets, man of honor. You will know his name.
So, ride behind enemy lines. That's what these guys did. These guides, or exploring officers, spies, rode in full uniform. Almost all of them rode in full uniform. And they took great pride in riding in full uniform, because British officers love to show off and be tough and be brave and all this other stuff. So they rode in full uniform behind enemy lines, looking at roads, bridges, making contact with partisans, speaking to deserters, pretty much everything an intelligence officer does, like a field intelligence officer out there in the field. And he was in the field because he was actually captured. So Grant was not some desk clerk, and neither were any of the other men in the intelligence corps. They came from everywhere. They came from all different ranks of the service. If your regiment got shipped over to the peninsula and you were sort of stuck on garrison duty somewhere, you could volunteer for this, and that would get you some excitement. But yeah, so these intelligence officers were really important to Wellington. They were essential to coordinate with the guerrillas. You can just let guerrillas do whatever you want, and we spoke in the last video about how effective guerrillas are when they're just attacking supplies. But much like the French, if you've seen Lindy Bage's video on the French resistance, you'll know what I'm talking about, where if you can coordinate irregular guerrilla activities with a big attack, you can specifically weaken. Say you want to weaken the center of the French sort of line in Spain, where you can attack the center specifically hard and then go in, or you want to feint, you can attack the north hard with your guerrillas and then move south. It's basically coordination with the guerrillas is better than no coordination with guerrillas. And he was a man of honor. We're going to get to that. Yeah, I would say that he's probably the master of Napoleonic intelligence work, at least field intelligence work. You want to see more Napoleonic intelligence work? I've got a video about Sir Sidney Smith. Okay, so capture and escape. Sort of. Sort of. Okay, so in 1812, he got captured by Marmont. Full uniform. He didn't wear, and there's actually a picture here that I've got of him. He didn't wear disguises. He wore his full Lieutenant Colonel British uniform. Although to say Lieutenant Colonel British uniform is sort of like saying guerrilla uniform. There were guidelines, but you could do it pretty much anyway. So he, especially in 1812. 1812 is the magic year, by the way, for the Peninsular War, where the British Army gets rid of stovepipe and adopts the Belgic shakos. They adopt the grey trousers instead of the brown, and instead of white and browns, they try and go for greys. It's basically a chaotic mess of a year, and at the same time, the Portuguese are adopting the stovepipe and getting rid of the Belgic stuff. It's a mess. If you did what I did when you first got into Napoleonic warfare and built like some guys with Belgic and some guys with stovepipe shakos, mix them up, put them in 1812, you'd be fine. Even 1813. Anyway, so Grant was captured by Marmont, and what you did at this time, what happened between gentlemen officers was, okay, you've been captured, here is my parole, I'm not going to try and escape, and in return you're going to agree to exchange me for an officer of equivalent rank. But just like what happened with Sir Sidney Smith, Marmont had no intention of letting Grant go. He got the friggin' head of intelligence of Wellington. He's not letting him go. And being the head of intelligence, Grant managed to get this letter and have a look at it before it was sent. And he deduced that, well, since you're not going to honour my part of the deal, you're not holding up your part of the deal, my parole is therefore invalidated, and I'm free to escape. And that's what he did. He just escaped, and he, of course, went back to Spain, you'd think, but he didn't. He figured, where can I be the best use to Wellington? Where can I go that they're not going to look for me, that no one's going to expect me, and that I can really, really just disappear? Paris. He went to Paris. And did he go to Paris? Well, he went to Paris and in a safe house somewhere. Nope. He went to the salons and the cafes of Paris, walking around in military uniform dressed as an American officer. He pretended to be an American for a long time, for years. American officer. Yeah, for about 2 years, he was running around as an American officer in Paris, before Wellington crossed into France, and he's like, well, I'll go and rejoin Wellington now. Which he did. And while wandering around the salons and the cafes and the operas of France, or do they have operas in France? I don't know. All this stuff in Paris. He did, sending back reports. He built himself an intelligence network. I'm sure he was able to tap into the one that Sir Sidney Smith had already built. Watch the other video on that. So yeah, that Grant was actually the master of disguise and the master of spies, because he was able to just go into the enemy capital and just disappear, and no one even thought to look for him. He was never even almost found. He was just completely gone. He was shot. That's why he was captured. He was wounded. Man of honor, hence the parole. He was going to honor the parole until he found out it wasn't going to be honored, which he probably should have known going into it, really. Marmont wasn't particularly dishonorable, so yeah, there was nothing red flag there. Marmont was actually quite good. Yeah, I think Master of the Game gets you, Imagine going into Nazi Germany and just like blending into Berlin, just wandering around the cafes, pretending to be a Spanish officer or something. Like it's crazy. If you wrote that in a book, people wouldn't believe it. That's how I judge over the top crazy behavior in the Napoleonic Wars. If you wrote it in a book, people would think you were nuts, or if you put it in a movie, people wouldn't believe it. I'm trying not to let too much music play. I'm trying not to talk over everything. I'm trying to balance. This is just the chorus. So yes, this guy is, if you seem sharp, he's sort of the Michael Hogan or the Major General Nan, of course, but in the books, Nan is actually just a Major General who has his own division, and he just sort of like subs out Sharp for different stuff. It's different. But anyway, this guy in the TV shows is sort of Hogan or Nan or what's the other guy's name? I can't even remember. But yeah, he's sort of that intelligence officer type guy. Of course, he wouldn't be dealing. Oh, well, he might be dealing with people like Sharp. But, Sharp wasn't actually an intelligence officer. He was just sort of a guy that they went to. See if I can find another photo of him. Oh, photo. Painting. Yeah, so we're pretty much out of the song at this point. So, Colhooden Grant, after the war, he kept serving the army. He ended up in Burma somewhere. When the British had a go at Burma, which they promptly won, and pretty much, yeah, he died in service, or he died just after being. He got sick in the service, got retired, and then pretty much died straight away. Yeah, he's really remarkable, and not a lot of people know who he is. I knew who this guy was, but I couldn't remember his name, which is, that's basically the same as not knowing who somebody is if you can't remember their name. But yeah, Grant is phenomenal. What can I say? 100 days. Yeah, in the 100 days, he's tried to set up another intelligence operation. The 100 days is the Waterloo thing, the lead up to that. When Napoleon comes back and comes in, he tried to set up another operation, but he basically just abandoned it and went to Waterloo and fought there. So yeah, pretty much he went back to being a normal colonel of a regiment after that, or lieutenant colonel of a regiment, and just saw out his service like that as a regular officer. He didn't go into major intelligence work. He didn't go into some crazy like setting up a proto MI6 or anything like that. He just went back into the regular army, and like so many Napoleonic officers who were these major heroes just sort of like ended up in India somewhere doing some stuff, A good example of that is the Anglo-Sikh War, which I'm going to make a video on, because the Anglo-Sikh War is phenomenally interesting. It's the only war I've ever come across where both sides are trying to, where one of the armies is literally trying to kill their own army and is collaborating with the enemy. It's phenomenally interesting. But that's basically the last hurrah of the lower ranking British Napoleonic officers all getting together as these senior officers and having another go. And so yeah, phenomenally interesting career. Did a lot of really good work. He was pretty much crucial to a lot of to basically setting up the exploring officers with the sort of style that they had. They existed before him, but he really embodied he personified the exploring officer. He personified this constantly going out for information, constantly putting your life on the line, getting shot, agreeing to surrender, finding out it was all crap. Like, he's just this Napoleonic gentleman who was in a very ungentlemanly occupation. But you know what? That was basically the Peninsular War in a nutshell. These gentlemen doing ungentlemanly things in gentlemanly ways, if that makes sense. So, thanks very much for watching, and have a wonderful day.